Let's now bring in some assets into the scene, because right now you can see that our shot looks pretty dull at the moment and we don't have anything interesting going on in here. We don't have any sort of background in here. So let's bring in some assets. For that, I'm gonna go into the Mission to Minerva folder and open up this actors folder. And we've used a few of these assets in our first shot as well. So we're gonna do the same thing in here as well. So I'm just gonna move my view somewhere around here behind these mountains. And let's roll back on the sequencer. I'm gonna move to frame number 0 and hide the patrol troopers. I'm gonna go into content browser and let's bring in this asset into the scene. I'm just gonna move this thing on X and let's rotate this thing on Z. I think I should enable the rotation snap. There we go. And I'm also going to move this thing up on Z and maybe fractionally move this thing on X to just about there. And I think I should move this thing further back on Y-axis, maybe somewhere around here, and fractionally up on Z-axis to just about there. Okay. So in here, you can see that we have this asset and it is made of multiple static meshes. You can see those static meshes in here. Let me just bring this thing down. In here, you can see that we have this static mesh, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So there are multiple static meshes that combine to form this asset in the form of blueprint. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to remove this one and this one from here because I don't really like that. So for that, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to select Geo Components and click here, Edit in Blueprint. And then it's going to open up this blueprint. I'm going to go into Viewport and let me adjust my view. I'm going to select this asset, go into the Details panel and search for Visible. I'm going to uncheck this box to hide it. And the other one that I don't want in my scene is this one. I'm just going to select it and uncheck this box. Okay. The assets are still there, but they're not going to show up in the viewport or in the renders. Okay. So I'm just going to now compile this blueprint, come out of this one. And as you can see, now we no longer have those two static meshes in here. So now I'm just going to select this asset, create a copy on Y-axis, move this thing on X, and maybe rotate this thing on Z by 180. I'm going to move this on Y, just about there, and move this thing fractionally on X, then on Y, and maybe a little bit more on X. Let me just get closer in here, and I'm just going to adjust this thing in my details panel. Okay, there we go. You don't necessarily have to pixel perfect this or set this 100% accurate because it's pretty far away from the camera, so it's not going to be noticeable. Okay, I'm just going to select both of them, create a duplicate copy on X, and place it just about there, I guess. I'm going to deselect this asset by pressing and holding Control on my keyboard. And then I'm going to press Shift to select this asset again, and this will bring the gizmo in here. Okay, now I can very easily just use this gizmo to set this as accurate as I can. There we go. Okay, so in here you can see that we have this a little bit of gap between the mountains and this bridge or the road, whatever you want to call this thing. So to adjust that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to box select these assets. Okay, and to box select your assets inside Unreal, what you need to do is you need to press and hold Control and Alt on your keyboard, and then simply use your left mouse button to box select these assets. Okay, I'm just going to select them and bring them down on Z axis to just about there. Yeah, I think it looks good. Let's create a duplicate copy on X. I'm gonna move this thing on Y, and let's move this thing somewhere around here, and I'm just gonna move it on X as well, just about there. Okay, looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna move ahead on the sequencer. Let's see how this thing looks like in here. I think I should create another copy. I'm just gonna box select this again. I'm gonna press and hold Control and Alt on my keyboard and then use my left mouse button to select all of them. I'm gonna create another duplicate copy. Move this thing on Y. I'm just gonna deselect this asset by pressing and holding Control on the keyboard, and then I'll press Shift on the keyboard and then press my left mouse button to select it again, and this is gonna bring my gizmo here. And now I can very easily just adjust this asset from here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I think it looks good. Let's move ahead on the sequencer. Yeah, everything looks great. I'm just gonna now move the playhead here, and let's now box select all of these assets. I'm gonna create a duplicate copy on Y-axis, and I'm going to rotate this thing on Z by 90. Let's move this thing, and I'm going to move my playhead. Let me move closer. I'm gonna deselect this asset, select this asset again, and I'm gonna just move this thing on X, move it on Y, and yeah, there we go. Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks good. I'm just gonna move my playhead again. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Let's create another duplicate copy. I'm just gonna box select all of these assets again. Create a duplicate copy again. Move this thing on X to just about there. And I'm just gonna deselect this asset and select it again. And I'm gonna move this thing just about there. Okay. Yeah, looks pretty good. Let's move ahead on the sequencer. Looks good. Okay. I'm going to create another duplicate copy. Let's select these assets, for instance, and create another duplicate copy. Move this thing. I'm gonna move it here and deselect and select this asset again and move this thing just about there. Okay. And yeah, I think it looks good. So this is what it looks like. I'm just gonna save everything. And let's now create a duplicate copy of these mountains. I'm gonna move back on the sequencer and maybe just keep the player somewhere around here. I'm just gonna select all these mountains, create a duplicate copy, move them here, rotate this thing on Z, and let me just change this back to global. I'm gonna move this thing on Y, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Perhaps I should fractionally bring this thing up on Z to just about there. Okay, I'm gonna select these assets again, create a duplicate copy on X, rotate them on Z to just about there, and move ahead on the sequencer as well, maybe somewhere around here. And let's place them just about here. I'm gonna rotate this thing on Z, like so, and keep it here. I'm gonna move this thing down on Z, and let's move ahead on the sequencer. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a few adjustments, but for the most part, I think it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna select this asset and move this thing up on Z to just about there. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one as well. Fractionally move this up on Z. I'm gonna select this one and do the same thing with this one. And I'm just gonna select these three as well. Move ahead on the sequencer and place them just about there. Of course, we're gonna have to pull them up on Z to somewhere around here. Move them on X, on Y as well. And yeah, I think it looks good. Perhaps I should rotate this thing like so and bring it down. I'm gonna move this thing just about there, bring it down on Z, and do the same thing with this one as well. Perhaps move it here and rotate this thing. Oops. Rotate this thing like so. I'm gonna move it on X and move it down on Z. A little bit more on X. And I think I should pull this up on Z fractionally to just about there. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna now move ahead on the sequencer to maybe somewhere around here. I'm gonna select all these mountains and move them like so. Create a duplicate copy and place them just about there. I think I should also rotate this thing on Z axis by 180 to add a little bit of variation. And I'm just gonna move this thing here. Yeah, looks pretty good. Let's move ahead on the sequencer. Yeah, we have a little bit of problem here. I'm just gonna select this asset and fractionally pull this thing up on Z and bring it here. Yeah, I think I should move this thing up on Z a little bit more to just about there. And yeah, I think it looks good. I'm gonna select this asset, maybe fractionally bring this thing down and place it just about there. Okay. Oops. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of gap here, so I'm just gonna bring it here. Let me just move this window aside and make this window bigger. And yeah, I think it looks good. Perhaps I should fractionally bring this thing up on Z to somewhere around here. I'm gonna have to adjust this one as well. Maybe just about there. And do the same thing with this one as well. Maybe just about there. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna create another duplicate copy of these mountains. I'm just gonna box select a few of them and create a duplicate copy. Move them just about there, I guess. Yeah, I'm just gonna move down here and I'm gonna deselect and select this asset again. Fractionally move this thing up on Z to just about there. And let's see how this thing looks like. Yeah, I think for the most part, they look pretty okay. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna enlarge this window and see if we have any sort of problems in here. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of problem here. We have this gap. I'm just gonna split this window, and I think I should rotate this thing on Z like so, and move this thing on Y to just about there. Let's enlarge this window. Yeah, now we have a little bit of gap in here. You know what? Let's just create another duplicate copy of this mountain and place this thing right here. There we go. Yeah, I think now it looks pretty good. Let's move ahead on the sequencer and see if we have any sort of similar problems. We do. And here, I think I should move this thing on X and fractionally bring this thing up on Z. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let's split this window. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Let's now bring in this window. I'm gonna move the details panel down. And from the outliner, I'm gonna unhide my patrol troopers. Let's now enlarge this window and see how this thing looks like. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. I think that there's still a little bit of problem here. I'm just gonna split this window and create a duplicate copy and place it just about there. And also bring this thing fractionally down on Z. And as you can see, our scene now looks a lot more interesting. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna now split this window, save everything. And let's bring in some more assets to place behind this road or bridge. I'm gonna go into the content browser and let's see what we can do with this one. I think we should use this one. I'm just gonna move my view somewhere around here and bring in this asset and place it just about there. I'm gonna press F to focus. Oops, it's pretty high at the moment. I'm just gonna move it here. Still pretty high. I'm just gonna move this thing down on Z. Place it here. I'm gonna press F to focus. Move this thing on Y. Maybe I should move this thing on X and then Y again. I'm gonna now scale this thing up to just about there. And you know, move this thing somewhere around here, let's say. There we go. I'm gonna enlarge this window, and as you can see, looks pretty good. Okay, I'm just gonna now split this window again, and let's see what else we can find in here. Maybe this one. I'm just gonna bring it here into the scene, place it just about there, and I want to place this asset somewhere around this area. Okay, so I'm just going to place it just about there, maybe somewhere around here, let's say. And I'm going to enlarge this window. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna split this window again, and yeah, I think I don't need to make any more adjustments. It looks pretty good. Okay, so yeah, of course you can do your own thing in here, add a few more assets, but as I mentioned in the first shot, the key in here is not to overdo this stuff. Just make sure that the attention of the viewer stays with your subject and not with the background assets. Okay, so I'm just gonna move somewhere around here and add one more asset over here. I'm gonna go into the content browser and let's see what we can do for this area. Mm, we can use this one, but I don't know. Maybe let's try this one. I'm just gonna bring it into the scene and bring it somewhere around here. Where is this place? I think it's here. Yeah, we just, oops, we just go into the sequencer and see where this place is. Yeah, I think I should, yeah, I want to place this thing over here. So let's move this thing on Y, and I'm just gonna move this thing up on Z as well to just about there, and then scale this thing up. Uh, where is it? I'm just gonna press F to focus. Where is this asset? I'm gonna press F to focus. Yeah, I don't see it. I think something is wrong with the asset. Anyways, let's go ahead and find another one. I'm just gonna try this one. Let's bring it here, just about there. And yeah, I think this one will look good. I'm gonna just place it somewhere around here, fractionally down on Z axis, and then scale this thing up to just about there. And okay, I'm not sure. Let's try this one again. Yeah, I think it was preparing the shaders. I'm just gonna delete this one. Perhaps I should first copy the location, and I'm gonna remove this one. I'm gonna select this asset and paste the location. Let's now scale this thing up and see how this thing looks like. Yeah, I think it looks a lot better. Maybe I should actually move this thing up on Z, or maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Let's just keep it down here and rotate this thing on Z to just about there. And yeah, I think it looks good. Let's see how this thing looks like. Yeah, maybe I think I should place it just about there. Or maybe here, let's say. Yeah, maybe here. And then I'll move this thing on X. Or maybe just keep it somewhere around here. Okay. I'm going to scale this thing up like so. And yeah, I think it looks good. Looks pretty good. Okay. Let's enlarge this window and see how this thing looks like. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Mm, yeah, I'm just gonna now split this window and see if we can find one more asset to place maybe just about there. Let's go into the content browser and what is this thing? I'm gonna open up this one. Where is it? I think it's taking some time to prepare the shaders. Uh, and yeah, no, I don't want this thing. I'm just gonna come out of it and let's see. Mm, yeah, I don't see any other thing. Let's try this one here. I'm gonna place it here and maybe just roll back on the sequencer and place one asset over here. Okay. I'm just gonna move this thing somewhere around here and scale this thing up like so and bring it up on Z to just about there. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. No, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not here. Let's say I'm just gonna select this asset from here and place it just about there. Yeah, in here I think it will look good. Let's see. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Okay. I'm just gonna move this thing on Z and see how this thing looks like. Yeah, I think it was fine there. Okay. Let's enlarge this window and see how this thing looks like. Pretty good. Okay. I'm gonna now go into the content browser and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And I don't want to place any more assets in the background. But I think one more thing that I like to do in here is to place this vehicle on these roads. Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and find a spot on these roads. Let me just move ahead on the sequencer and place this sci-fi rover over here, let's say. It's pretty far away. I just want this thing to be somewhere around here, let's say. Yeah, I think this is a good spot. So I'm just gonna now move this thing over here and scale this thing up to just about there. I'm gonna move this thing on Y and maybe fractionally scale this thing a little bit more. There we go. I'm gonna move this thing on Y to just about there. And yeah, I think it looks good. Let me just enlarge this window to see how this looks like. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna split this window, select this asset, and create another duplicate copy to place this asset somewhere around here. Okay. I'm gonna create a duplicate copy, move this thing on Y. Maybe I should change this to local. I'm just gonna place it somewhere around, let's say here. Okay. I'm just gonna rotate this thing on Z by 180 and place this thing over here. Let me just move this thing on X to just about there. And I'm just gonna move this thing on Y to somewhere around here. Maybe I think I should move this thing right here. Yeah. Let's see how this looks like in an enlarged window. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna now split this window again and let's go into the sequencer and I'm gonna now animate these sci-fi hovers. I'm gonna unlock the sequencer and save everything. I'm gonna move down here and let me select this asset. I'm gonna bring it into the sequencer. I'm gonna bring it down here. I'm gonna select the rest of them and lock everything. And let me just go into frame number 0. I'm gonna add a transform parameter from here and add a location keyframe. Let me just change this to global and select this asset from here. I'm just gonna add a keyframe on X and I think I should move ahead on the sequencer and place the playhead just about there. Let me just move out of this one. Come on, come on, come on. Let's bring this window down. And I'm just gonna move this thing on X to just about there. Let's get closer to this thing and maybe just about there. Okay. Yeah. Let's see how this thing looks like. Yeah, I think I should select all these keyframes and change the interpolation to linear. I'm just gonna select these keyframes and remove them. Let me just move the playhead here and enlarge this window. Let's see how this thing looks like. Yeah, I don't really see anything in here, so I don't really know if it's moving or not. Yeah, I think the movement is there, but it's pretty slow at the moment. So maybe I should just uh, pull this thing up and start the animation from frame number 24. I'm gonna bring down this window and let's see how this thing looks like. Yeah, the animation is there, but it's pretty slow. Let me just select this one and see from where it begins to appear on the screen. Yeah, I think it's gonna be here. Let's see how this thing looks like on an enlarged window. Yeah, I think it looks good. It's moving here. Let me just adjust the play area. I'm gonna move my playhead here and press the square bracket to set the endpoint. And let's see. Yeah, I think it looks good. We have a little bit of movement in the background. I'm gonna move my playhead here and let's add the animation for this one as well. I'm gonna close this one, bring it into the sequencer, move it down here, and add a transform parameter. And let's see from where the sci-fi hover begins to appear on the shot. I think it's going to be frame number 24 as well, or maybe 22. I think it's going to be 22. So let's add a keyframe here. I'm just going to add a keyframe on x-axis and move the view just about there. Uh, let's just move this thing. Oops, I think I forgot to move the playhead. Let's just move this thing back. I'm gonna press Ctrl Z multiple times and move the playhead to somewhere around here. And let's now move this thing on X. Yeah, maybe just about there. Okay. I'm gonna select these keyframes and change the keyframe interpolation to linear. And let's see how this thing looks like. Yeah, we have a little bit of movement in here. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna save everything and let's enlarge this window. You can see we have a little bit of movement in here. There we go. We have a little bit of movement in here as well. Yeah, I think our scene now looks a lot better. So this is how you can bring in different assets into your scene to make your shot look a little bit more interesting and a lot more cinematic. So that's pretty much it for this lesson, and I'll see you guys in the next one.